I got it. 3, 2, boom. Hi, everybody. How's it going? We're live on this beautiful day. I know. Well, until we're not. Okay. We're live until we're not. Um, Good to see everybody. And just think, this is the psalm tells us, this is the day that the Lord has made, that we might rejoice and be glad in it. So you may look around and go, well, this is a icky day, but this is the day that the Lord has made, you know? So it's up to us to take it from there. It's good to have y'all out today. It's good to see. Hey, how are you? Good to see everybody, and anybody might be watching online as well. And I'll hold on one second. I don't have a cold. It's just just. I no, not even getting ready. It's just may be surprising to some of y'all, but I talk a lot, so I'm just a little. I know, shock, right? So just a little. No, yeah, no, it's just not even that. It's just, yeah, cool. Thank you for trying to get me in trouble. Okay, so here we go. It's crazy to believe and to think about this, but we're just right around the corner from Ash Wednesday, and it's not this Wednesday. It's not this coming Wednesday, but the next, the 22nd. So that also means that, okay, so that's Ash Wednesday. So always the Sunday before, which is next Sunday, you have, anybody? Oh, yeah, we do have communion. Thank you. Very good. That's communion for the specific day we have church. Thank you. We always do one thing before you go into Lent. And that's Jesus goes up the mountain of Transfiguration. Thank you. All right. Super good. Jesus, every year. We're already going up the mountain next week. And it just, when I kind of chart the year by, or how soon it is by going up the mountain of Transfiguration. Because once Jesus goes up the mountain, he's totally looking at Jerusalem, and that's all he's thinking about. It says his face is set on Jerusalem, and from that point on. And that happens in chapter 9 of the gospel, so just think about 28 chapters of Matthew, that once Jesus goes up the mountain, that his focus is going to Jerusalem from chapter 9 to chapter, 24-ish, 25, and then 26, 27, death and resurrection. Wow. That aside, but all of that talk about the gospel, today we're going to do Deuteronomy, just for fun. So you can probably count on one hand how many times you've heard from the book of Deuteronomy in a sermon. And I can count on 2 fingers how many times I've preached by going back and looking at my list of sermons throughout the years, kind of tracking that sort of thing. So today's the second time I've ever preached on this. So there we go. And no, didn't use the old sermon because I read it and was like, ooh, what was I thinking? So here we go. Deuteronomy, let's talk about the book first. It's one of the first 5 books of the Bible, which we call the Torah. Thank you, the law, the instruction. And we attribute the first 5 books to Moses. All right. Y'all are just so good. Interesting part about that is the last part of this book. In the last chapter of Deuteronomy, Moses dies. So we know one thing. He couldn't have written the last little bit because, he's gone. And Deuteronomy, anybody, Deutero means, don't, okay. No, Deutero is two. So this is called and second law, or it's kind of like the law revisited. And so a lot of folks feel like when you start reading those folks down the line, that this is probably written much after the time of Moses, and was written down and put into place. That is just kind of like a, hey y'all, we're going back through the law, we're explaining it just so it makes sense to who we are. So, and you go over the 10 one more time in much more of a kind of like a sermons, like and where we're about to, well, we'll get to that in a second, but that is to kind of explain to the people why we do this. And the law here in this book is pretty clear. Hey, y'all, we are trying to be God's people, and we're trying to be a community of faith, a community of believers, and this is how we do it. This is not, hey, individualistic, hey, I'm just going to go over here and live by myself and be faithful. It's no, how can we be a people of faith together? And this law kind of centers us and grounds us. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. For those who grew up with their kid watching the video from Disney, The Lion King, 50,000 times, where Simba is out there and his dad, the cloud blows together and goes, Simba, remember who you are. This is what that is. This is it. This is, mm, mm, uh, mhm, mm, yeah. Mm, right. Yeah. It's actually, yeah, actually, this funny you should say it that way. That is, remember, it's coming up out of Egypt, and they're, yeah, it's that kind of thing. Don't forget who you are. Yeah, I'm still there. That's a part of what this is. That God is still there. God is still faithful. So the people of God, here they are. They've been wandering around in the desert at this point for 40 years, and they're on the edge of the river. They're about to cross over. This is Ashlyn's favorite part, where Moses has led them this whole way, and God says, "You don't get to go any farther, and you don't think that's fair. I mean, just one little mistake, and he can't go any farther." It's wrong. Okay. Well, God is wrong. Actually, you heard it here. Actually, God is wrong, but it does not seem fair. And it's probably not, but I don't get to make that call. So Moses is old; he's about to die, and they're about to cross over across the Jordan into their new life in Canaan, their new world, their this new community of faith, and Moses, being the good preacher he is, I'm going to tip my last shot. This is it. My last sermon. And when you get your last sermon, y'all, you get to say what you really want to say, and that's so he's there, and of course most of the book is kind of that sermon, so it's a really long sermon. The other thing about your last sermon is I'm not worried about time. So and so he's not me, but him anyway. Even the last one, I'm worried about time. But he's telling them, hey y'all are about to go over here. Boom, and then you're about to hear what he says. This is like his parting shot to them. And so keep those two stories, that kind of story in mind. Also think about it, if this is when it happened here, it was written here. Think about it in that context too. It's kind of interesting. We'll talk about that a little bit, okay? All right, here we go. Moses talking to them, 15 through 20, Deuteronomy 30. All right. See, I have set before you today life and prosperity, death and adversity. If you obey the commandments of the Lord your God that I am commanding you today, by loving the Lord your God, walking in his ways, and observing his commandments, decrees, and ordinances, then you shall live and become numerous, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land that you are entering to possess. But if you, but if your heart turns away and you do not hear, but are led astray to bow down to other gods and serve them, I declare to you today that you shall perish, and you shall not live long in the land that you are choosing the Jordan to enter and possess, that you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life so that you and your descendants may live, loving the Lord your God, obeying him and holding fast to him. For that means life to you and length of days, so that you may live in the land that the Lord swore to give to your ancestors, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Familiar? No, some? Okay. Yeah, choose. Yeah, if you're from if you ever been around in the 80s, what was his name? George. Um, you, he used to have "Choose Life" on his T-shirt. Oh, he's dead now. Guy, long earring, George, or I don't remember. He was in a band. He was a pop guy. I don't know those guys. I don't know pop music. George Michael, yeah, I think, wasn't he the one that had the "Choose Life" T-shirt from the 80s? I don't know. Okay, so choose life, right? And we can tend to use this passage in a lot of different ways, and sometimes it's not healthy. But here we go. So what did you hear? Well, let's start with this. In context, Moses, last sermon, they're about to cross over. Don't forget everything we taught you. Okay, that's back to the remembrance. Hey, y'all, you know.
Well, I think the other thing too, Moses, they probably know at this point he's not going over with them.
They are aware he is not going.
He's turning over the mantle
Mm-hmm.
and he's saying, don't forget what
Mm.
I'm,
Yeah.
even though I'm not there,
Right.
sometimes we feel like they wanted to make Moses God, and God
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't keen on that.
They, no.
Moses had not let
No.
Moses go across.
Right.
He was saying, hey,
Yeah. And think of it, yeah, Joshua or Yeshua, the one who delivers, which is the Jewish name for, the Greek name for that is Jesus. So one who delivers and delivers them to the promised land. Joshua's about to take them to the promised land as Jesus takes us to the promised land. One who delivers, one who saves. So he's handing over the reins. Everybody's aware of what's happening. And, in just a little bit he dies anyway. I mean, this is really, really, really last sermon. So remember what we told you. Um, don't forget what we've said, which means they already know what to do, right? They're already aware of what they're supposed to be about. So this notion of Deuteronomy's second law, or it's revisiting, reminding them of the law in the first place. We're just circling back here, which is basically what we do all the time when, it's like, oh, I'm preaching this again. Well, that's what you're supposed to do, over and over. Took them 40 years. Yeah, and it's not that, it's not when people go, well, it took them 40 years. If you really look at the space where they were, it was like, oh, that shouldn't have taken them any time. No time at all, which is kind of the image that you're supposed to get. Look, y'all, it shouldn't have taken y'all this long. Yeah, but they just kept messing up along the way. And yet God is faithful still, as we say in a brief statement of faith. Love that line, even though basically I love it. And God is faithful still. Okay? Warning? Yeah, right? Yeah. Right. Right. And this plays into the notion of that theology of the day that we folks who sit around in circles that I can sit in sometimes, Deuteronomistic history, and it's hard to say 3 times fast, so I'm just going to say that once. It's that if you do right, you're blessed. If you do wrong, you're cursed. Okay? That is, now we know that there's some truth to that. What? Right, yeah, you have to be that. This is where you get. Maybe this is why I haven't preached on it, but once other time because I get really nervous about that piece of it because you go, oh, if I just do the right things, then everything's going to be all right. And we all know, or at least I hope we all know, bad things. Yeah, you can do all the right things and still get hit by a bus. Okay. You could do all the right things and still end up with bad doctor visit. You can still do all the right things and your house still get robbed. I mean, that's, we do know that part. Okay. So you're right. Prosperity, it always makes me so like, okay, maybe that's why most people won't pick this lesson today. But I'm taking a chance, okay? Feeling good. So, all right. So what else jumps out? We have the warning. Hey, this is what you're supposed to do. Oh, now, since you brought that up, let me ask this question. Think about it in these terms. If this was written, and we know, I mean, Moses wasn't sitting there writing this stuff down, okay? This does get written down when they're in exile because so it's years later. So think about this. This is being written after the fact. Choose life, y'all. This group back here, choose life. Choose life. And these people who are writing it down later know what about this group? They didn't. That's right. They didn't. They didn't. Now, what does that say to us? This group out here looking back going, yeah, Moses is saying, y'all, this is what you need to do, but and if you do this, this ain't going to go well for you. Because they do end up losing this land. They do go into exile. They get to go back. But they do. So they're writing this from looking back over it going, choose life. Choose life. It's like, yeah, we're writing this knowing all the time that they didn't. What else jumps out? Okay. Ooh. Nice sense of Quakerism here. And what does it mean to choose life here? So let's talk about that definition. Now we do know the literal life and death, right? But also they're saying more than that, right? It's not just literal life and death he's talking about. So to choose life is to do what as the community of faith? Okay. Which are, when Jesus distills them down, what are they? Love Lord God with everything you got, and love your neighbor as yourself. That's a pretty good start, right? Okay. So see, that's that kind of notion too here that he's trying to get them to live as a community of faith on the other side. Y'all have got this shot to go and do this and to live into that. And we know they don't. Oh, okay. And we don't either. Wow. Well, I was going to get there. We're reading it too. Okay. That's why we come every week in hopes that one day we get it right. we get it with that little stick. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, well, two 2000 since Jesus. I mean, it's just so we're still doing. Right. Okay. So that's another part of this story is that, yeah, they're reading it, looking back, going, boy, they didn't get it. And then we look back and go, well, those people that wrote it down who were looking back at them didn't get it. And then they didn't get it. And then we reread our own history and when we go, and thinking in the space of this room, you go, yeah, we didn't get it. We didn't get it. Yeah, we didn't get it. That's right. That's right. And then we have to and then so there is this notion about this passage that here's we kind of place ourselves into the story, and that's what I love about the way this is. So here's this Moses guy. He's on his last leg, and he he's sounding like an older guy, and he's just telling him, hey, choose life, do the best I mean, live into your faith, go across that river. Man, I have so much hope that you can go across that river and live into this. Because I don't get to go because I didn't get it. And Ashlyn's standing over there going, God's wrong. You're wrong, God. and and everybody here is like, Moses, why don't you get to come with us, buddy? But there they are in this moment of life. Let's choose life. Let's live in community. Let's live together. Do what we're supposed to do. And they kind of know. They just don't live into it. Mm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure. Right. At least then. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, right. They were starting to blend in, right? Mm-hmm. 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 Right. So that tells us two things, really, right? Sorry. It tells us two things. Once, one of those things. What does it say? What does this passage say about God? God is faithful. That God, if that story keeps playing out, like we keep looking back, going, He's saying, choose life, choose life, choose life, choose life, choose life. They don't. They don't. And then we roll over into Phil's scenario. We don't. But that God is still faithful to keep offering the opportunity. And then we have to ask ourselves, what kind of God does that? Why does God even keep trying? Yeah. that God is this. Excuse me. We're having fun. What? Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Just because it's right, you just keep right. There you go. God is this. God has this to just keep offering grace to us over and over and over again. To keep trying. So what does this say for us? Yeah, we got to keep trying. We got to keep trying. Okay, and so what does that look like for us? And again, I have to tell y'all that in a lot of ways, I was at Presbytery yesterday morning. Great to see my brothers and sisters of the Presbytery, Charlotte Presbytery, great Presbytery. If any of them catch wind of this video, I love them to death. Love you, mean it. But thank you, sir. But when I think I largely think in terms, I think about who we are right here, about us. So when I think about our RPC, Um, yeah, I do have larger Presbyterian concerns. I get it. I serve on my committees faithfully, do all those good things. But I have to think about who we are as a congregation. What does this look like for us? What does it mean for who we are when we sit in this space, when we live out our faith in this space, when we live out our faith in this community? What does it look like? So what is Moses saying to us? If, we're on the edge of the river, y'all. Some of us closer than others right now with the rain coming down. But we're on the edge of the river, and we're crossing over into whatever it is that's coming next for us. And so what does that look like for us? How do we go ahead. Okay, we've been told what to do. And what is it we're supposed to do then? Live faithfully. And what does that look like? Hold fast to him. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. Ooh. Okay. That's right. Okay, live a Christ-like life. And that when you start talking about that, that was like, what does that mean? I mean, what'd he do? You should- yeah. 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 Mhm. Yeah. 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 Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's, there are a lot of non-drivers driving, aren't they? Oh my, yeah, absolutely. It's okay, but and actually, that's the passage. That's the gospel lesson today. That is, if you look, and I notice I didn't pick that today. This is if you look with lust, you commit. Poke your eye out, cut your hand off. If that's what you got to do, you just got to do that. You know, and then it's right, right. So is that? So then is it as I was talking to the folks at the Drake the other day? Are we supposed to take that literally? None of them were in favor of literal. And it's just say, yeah, right. Is it, right? Is it literal, or should I say, did I ask them the same thing I ask y'all all the time? Do we take that literally, or do we take that seriously? Because taking it literally is really a cartoon. Because ain't none of us cutting off our hands, ain't none of us poking out our eyes. And if you're thinking about it, don't. Okay. But is Jesus saying that sin is that serious in our lives? Sin is sin. Right. 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 And that, yeah, for us to denote, because we wanted to denote sin being different, right? And that I want to make sure that my anger out on the highway is nothing, but someone else's murder is that's something. Yeah. Your immorality is something. Mine in here is nothing. Yeah. Right. And Jesus is saying, oh, no, sorry. Sorry. Right. And so that kind of, I guess I could have tied that back into this passage too, because it's about the law and the like. Lisa, you wanted to share something? Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But so what does it look like for us, and how do we implement this in a way that's really faithful? Because the the danger that we have of a passage like this is that we go, yeah, Jesus says for us to, do the commandments, love everybody, you know, and then we can go on about our business, but to make it specific. That's what I always remember growing up about testimony time in a Pentecostal church. Sister, whoever her name was, she was 80 years old. She'd stand up and say, I just want to say I love everybody in this church. And I'd go, God, you don't act like it, You act like a mean old lady to me, and so, but so it's easy for us to go, yeah, let's just love everybody. and then go, yeah, I mean, yeah, and then just kind of blanket that and then go, yeah, but we're gonna mess up anyway, so why even try, you know? So that I would encourage us to think of how is it that we can specifically notion to be about taking care of one another, loving God, how we can do that, but also how we transfer that out to a community of faith. And not just think about it in terms of, oh, yeah, such and such, they ought to do better, but more and more about how should I do better. Mm, 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 mhm. Yeah. Mm, mhm. Mm. Right. Right. Mm, mhm. Mm. Eh, mm, mhm. Mm, mhm. Mhm. Right. Right. Mm, mm, mhm. Mhm. Is right. Right. Mhm. So we have to keep telling the story of faith over and over and over. And I mean, okay, good, super good. Well, and I say that we're about to have confirmation, and that's something we're really going to take pretty serious this year because of just from I have to explain it to the session, but just in my own head about how serious we need to be about that going forward. All right, great. Let's pray. Gracious God, we give thanks for scripture that strengthens us and encourages us and challenges us to be faithful, to know that in this moment we are called right here and now. Choose life, choose death. May we be faithful as you are faithful to continually offer that to us. It's in your name we pray.